Or you almost go this prop hunt angle of Glitch Trap is in multiple people acting nefariously and doing X, Y, and Z. And now all of a sudden it becomes this game of like, who's the imposter, right? It's Among Us. It's who do you trust? Who is sussy? And it's Among Us, Gregory. Have you tried venting? We interrupt this normally scheduled GT Not Live with a quick announcement and a request for you. So right below this video, there is a survey. I need you to go and fill out this survey. It's going to take you like 5-10 minutes. It should be a lot of fun. It's asking you to rate the relative attractiveness of a bunch of faces. That is it. It is for an upcoming theory that we have going on that's going to appear sometime in January. You're going to want to be a part of this one because it's going to be a big one. And it should just be a fun little experiment. You're going to see some familiar faces like mine and some other members of Team Theorist, but also some other random faces in there. And just go do it. Do me a favor. Do all of us here at Team Theorist a favor. And now, without any further ado, back to your regularly scheduled episode. Hey guys, and welcome to GT Not Live, where today we are back with all of our special guests from all over the world. And when I say all, I mean there's just two of them. There's John and Tom, but it is FNAF team assembling to solve Security Breach once and for all. So John, Tom, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
I get to see them today. Last time we had to turn off their camera just for like, why did we turn off the camera last time, Ash? Just because we didn't want them to be able to see me. They're like, no, you must not look upon his face.
You're just too distracting, Matt.
It was a weird angle. Yeah, they weren't allowed to see like the bottom of my chin.
Yeah, I wanted to protect you from any scrutiny.
The entire time they were going to be like, Matt, you missed. There's some stubble back there that you missed when you shaved this morning. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, we don't need that kind of attention.
I'll have you know, this is my best like this right here is my best the jugular. That's my best angle.
Yeah, you got that dream angle.
Rocking the dream. Rocking the dream here. Here's the dream angle for you guys right there. Let me just do a quick close up. Oh man, I'm all tangled up now. Oh, that was well done. Well done. Hey, I'll have you know, he is my son. Okay, don't you speak ill of my son. We did a theory about that because that is a valid topic for our show to cover. See, that's what happens when you don't title your channel after one specific franchise. You can cover anything you want to.
Exactly. I'm taking notes.
Taking notes. So when last we left off, John was undergoing his final examination in FNAF University from Professors Tom and old Matpat here, as we were examining his latest and his greatest and his grand finale to his Solved Security Breach trio of episodes. And honestly, I think we were having some really exciting discussion, some lively discussion, some really exciting ideas that were being tossed out there. I feel like collectively we are all onto something, and hopefully that gets us closer to solving it. So we have 6 minutes left and 40 minutes to record this episode. Can we do it, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. As we prepare to head into this, John, is there anything that I should be aware of, or anything that you want to preface or warm up the room?
No, I think if you've watched the past GTLive and the past 2 theory videos and the past 4 reactions, I think
and read all the books and also
the books
dug into
the graphic novels.
And looked into all the source code for all the teasers, as well as researched Scott Cawthon's personal life, dug into his past history with Tripper and Sons Lumber Company, and also are familiar with the vast, robust history of sci-fi and the Chuck E. Cheese lore, then you're golden.
Yeah, you're golden.
That's all you need.
That's it. That's all you need. Speaking of, since last we talked, Somnophobia, the newest book, has come out. Have you read that one, John?
No.
The laughing dismissal of it.
Maybe one day.
Tom, you have read it, yes?
I am halfway through it. I haven't got to the last story yet.
I hear. Confirm or deny for me. I hear online. I haven't gotten a chance to read it because we just flew back from a conference that we were doing in the Middle East. So I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet. But I hear, rumor has it online, that it is the best of the FNAF books so far. Tom, confirm, deny. The best.
I can say the first story I would not necessarily put in that category. It's
Oh no.
What about the second story? You said you only have one story left, so.
oh yes, no, the second story is pretty good. I will give it that.
Pretty
good.
So it is the
Again.
best.
We'll take it. This is the thing. The bar is very low. So best does not have a lot to do.
Tail, hey, here's my arbiter of success with this new series. Is the Pizzaplex in it? Is there any mention of a Pizzaplex? Because it is Tales from the Pizzaplex. So, is this a tale from the Pizzaplex or in the general vicinity of the Pizzaplex?
I mean, the Pizzaplex is always in the epilogue. That's their get out.
Great.
It's always in the epilogue.
It's tales from the building down the corner, 3 neighborhoods over on the other side of the tracks. There it is. All right. So without any further ado, here's the final 6 minutes of John, aka FuhNaff's I Solved Security Breach finale. Here we go.
Need more proof?
Yes, always need more proof. There it is. Love it. Love it. I love the catchphrase.
Retro CDs, patient 46 and Vanessa take an ink blot test. And when 46 sees the ink blot test, she immediately thinks of a mask.
You think it's
Yes,
a mask?
I remember this.
It reminds you of a mask?
Now, why would she connect the ink blots to a mask?
There was something that looked like a Halloween mask laying on the floor. Ink must have spilled. I couldn't see his face. He had the visor covering his head.
Ha!
He had ink spilled on himself as well.
The CDs
That's interesting. So, okay, the masks are interesting, right? Because with masks, and this is 46 we're talking to? Yes, 46.
Yes.
Okay, so the masks are interesting. For me, again, like, when we think about masks in the series at this point, there's the Vanny mask. Obviously, that one's the most obvious, like, slam dunk. She created a mask, and we see that repeatedly. There's also the lesser known 3 male masks that Vanny purchases. 3 realistic male rubber masks that is specifically called out in the AR emails, right?
That is, I think that's part of the unused AR emails, but yes.
Right.
But I called that out in my last theory because I was like, maybe that connects to Afton, Crying Child, and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, those are big mystery.
Right? Yeah. And so, and again, like, anytime we're like, there's robot people here, like, there's a lot of indications that humans are being replicated or thrown off in some way. So you have Vanny mask, you have these 3 mysterious male human rubber masks that are being portrayed. Lesser masks, but you have like the Ennard mask. Which is present throughout Sister Location. You also have a lot of like humanoid faces throughout Sister Location. I wouldn't necessarily call them masks, but they are like humanoid faces. That is interesting. You calling out that it's Jeremy's. So the tape girl here, this is a reference to when Jeremy slices off his face with the guillotine paper cutter, and slices it off. And in our past theory, when we first talked about Help Wanted and talking about this ending, we said, he slices off his face. That's what causes blood to spill everywhere. And because he's in a dark room, because this is a darkened room, because this is the room that it's in, they associate it with oil because it looks black like oil, but in actuality, it's discolored blood, right?
Yes, and I think I thought it was really interesting that from Tape Girl's perspective, she sees it as ink. Yeah. And then they choose to do ink blot tests in the CDs and Security Breach, and suddenly she relates the ink blots to a mask.
That is really interesting.
I don't know. But it's funny because all the other stuff before this, Tom has basically convinced me that maybe she's not the same thing, but like,
oh no, are you no, John, hold your ground. We're not through the episode yet. Hold your ground.
I'm sorry.
He's pivoting away. We've convinced him.
I'm in so much pain. But then there's this end part that just like connects so well, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to believe anymore. Matpat, help.
Well, welcome to the franchise, my friend.
Yeah,
you think
I've been here for 8 years.
So many things make
I'm
sense
tired.
and also don't.
So it's interesting. On one hand, so okay, this is one of those that I like the idea of. I'm not 100% convinced, or like I like it in concept. I think conceptually this is one of those where I'd be like, yes, I love this as an idea. But as a like, could this really be? Because Jeremy is, again, to refresh you guys watching, and also for us to just refresh each other, because, you know, this is pulling on stuff that I haven't thought about in a while. But Jeremy is an employee at the VR company that is play testing the VR game, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And as the theory goes, or kind of as the thing that we've talked about in the past goes, is that he is almost like one of the first victims of Glitch Trap, right? Where where he's testing out this VR game, all of a sudden Glitch Trap gets into his head, and he causes, like, either Glitch Trap tells him to do this, or the guy just does it to himself to try and like get out of this situation, right? Of like, let me guillotine my face.
Yes.
To me, while I love the idea of, oh no, there's black oily blood, there's black oil everywhere, and there's a mask on the ground, I like the connections that you're making, but the idea of the only way that would make sense for Jeremy to be a part of this is like, so Jeremy has to be a human. And he has to be a human in his vein. So you're not challenging the fact that...
Well, robots can bleed too, but...
Well, okay, so that, yeah. So that's
I'm not saying he's a robot, but that doesn't mean he has to be a human.
Well, that's why I'm saying, so like, for your theory to work here, for Tape Girl to be 46, are you saying that she's just connecting masks and ink blots? Or are you saying that Jeremy himself is a robot?
No. I'm just making the connection that she relates ink to the mask.
That she relates inks and masks.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
yes.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I see that. That makes sense to me. And Tape Girl also sees that. I mean, it's a really cool connection.
Yeah, it's really specific.
It is. It's very specific. Okay. I like this. Here, I'm gonna let's keep going.
His face.
Sure.
He had the visor covering his head. He had ink spilled on himself as well.
The CDs take place right as Vanessa is in the final stage of merging with Glitch Trap. Vanessa makes the costume that she was told to make.
Yes, I have it. I made it myself.
You purchased some fake fur material. What are you gonna make?
Then 46 hacks into Fazbear Entertainment's system to get Vanessa hired as the head security guard, even though she has no prior qualifications.
I'm needed somewhere else now.
So do you think it's 46 that hacked in? Because this is one of the things that, as Tom and I have been talking about our FNAF theories, we keep debating a lot is, you know, who is the one who got Vanessa hired in the first place? And obviously in our most recent FNAF theory, we said like, oh, it has to be the head of Fazbear Entertainment, whoever has relaunched the company or kind of started it down this new business path. Because on one hand, would it be interesting if it was 46 hacking in and doing all this? Yeah. But also it feels like it's attributing too much to 46. And also if we're, you know, we know who 46 is. Why would 46 be in a position to like hire on this girl? Like it feels like you're layering too many things onto patient 46 at a certain point.
No, I agree. I think the only reason I said that, I don't think I think the reason I said that is because 46 is revealed to be a hacker, and that's kind of just such a umbrella thing for me to just throw everything under. I think the more interesting thing for me with this part was setting up a timeline, because I think the CDs actually take place like during FNAF VR and then after FNAF VR, because in FNAF VR, it's before she makes the costume. It's before she gets infected with Glitch Trap. And then the CDs, you see them talking about, oh, you're starting to make a bunny costume. So that's kind of another way I tried connecting it to, oh, maybe Tape Girl's actually patient 46 because 46 is doing the manipulating. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I've had this one side theory that I started writing a script for, but I ended up scrapping, about Vanny actually being the Elizabeth bot, and Vanessa's just innocent, and
Vanny is the Elizabeth bot, and
Vanessa the security guard is innocent.
Yeah,
and the Vanny is stealing Vanessa's identity, like an Eleanor type beat. But I don't know that I'm still chewing on that one.
Because that's kind of in a lot of ways what the connections between Vanny and Vanessa are undeniable. Like, I think going into Security Breach, all of us were kind of biased as far as what Help Wanted VR set up for us, which was they're the same person, and FNAF AR is setting up that they're the same person, and even in the cut stuff that you don't see in the game, Vanessa has this weird transition meter where suddenly she becomes Vanny. And so everything in the lead up to Security Breach, everything in Security Breach that might not have made the final cut, but that's in there is saying Vanny and Vanessa are one and the same. Which is why I think we all collectively did an eye roll and a groan at the fire escape ending. Where you're like, are you kidding? Like, what the heck? Come on, man. Like, and I think that's why everyone dismissed it, right? Is because, you know, if there was one thing that we all felt confident about going into Security Breach, it was that Vanny and Vanessa are the same thing. She is the evil killer bunny. She is possessed by Glitchtrap, what have you. She's being, like, commanded by Glitchtrap in some capacity. And then for the game to basically say, like, but is she? And you're like, no, come on. Like, she is. She is.
Yeah. It's just not to go on a further tangent, but the fact that she looks so concerned when she's standing on the roof, and the fact that Vanessa catches Gregory, throws him lost and found, then feels the need to catch him again,
a second time
in the Vanny suit. It's just, does Vanessa really do anything bad throughout the game, or is she doing the right thing the whole time? I don't know. That's what I attributed to my Vanny is actually the Elizabeth bot stealing Vanessa's identity. I don't know. Well, now we're on a whole side tangent, but yeah.
Well, I
don't know.
mean, we are, but we aren't. Like, again, this goes to kind of the theory that we recently talked about, and I think it's worth considering, right? Because I think for the first time in a long time since the game came out, right, we're finally asking the question of, like, but really, could Vanny and Vanessa be two separate individuals, even though everything leading up to it says that they shouldn't be? Really, you know, if we're taking Security Breach at face value, exactly to your point, like Vanessa at no point does anything particularly nefarious. Nefarious. Doesn't anything nefarious. Doesn't really do anything nefarious with Gregory, right? She captures this kid who's running around the pizza plex after hours and puts him in the holding booth, basically the holding pen. For the morning or for when she can deal with him. And then all of a sudden here comes like evil bunny gonna kill you. And so I think you're totally right to call out the fact that, you know, does she actually do anything evil? Does she do anything mean? She doesn't. Vanessa doesn't.
I mean, even she says in Lost and Found, she's like, we're going to wait till your parents or the police arrive.
Right.
And then later on, when she captures Freddy in that big tank thing, and she says, well, he actually doesn't have any family. I think that's her following up on saying, I'm going to contact your parents. She went to go find something about them, couldn't find anything. So it's just, they're so disconnected. It feels odd to me. So I don't know.
Tom, do you have anything? You're oddly quiet.
I'm oddly quiet. I apologize. No, it's one of those things because like we talked about it, you know, when the game came out, we've talked about it on a number of occasions, but that moment particularly where it's like, I'm gonna leave you there until your parents or the police arrive, and the switching. Yeah, you're totally right. Why would she suddenly switch? And part of that, I think, for us was originally, again, with the Vanny meter, like you talked about, Matt, was that sense of, oh, over time, like, you know, her and Vanny are the same person, but two separate beings, kind of like occupying one consciousness, as it were, one brain, and then they weren't aware of each other, Jekyll and Hyde situation. But now you kind of go, like, what again, this franchise, you go, what's more extreme, that they're two separate people or that one person has two personalities? And both are like equally plausible at this point. But yeah, like what we've talked about obviously is then going, they're two separate people because that links with the fire ending, and it links with some of the other stuff we know. So yeah.
I think my only question and I think my frustration would be, okay, so I like the evidence points that you're pointing out, and you know, obviously 46 is really frustrating, but like, what do we accomplish narratively if 46 is Tape Girl? And like, what does that mean? Like, because if you look at FNAF VR, right, Tape Girl feels like a means to an end in a lot of ways. Like, she is a narrative device similar to Phone Guy, right, who is there to kind of guide you through a lot of the key narrative beats, but then, you know, kind of fades away, or their role is accomplished. And yes, she becomes possessed by the end of that, but at the end of the game, you as the player also become possessed. So are there multiple glitch traps? Right, like are there multiple glitch traps running around there? Like Tape Girl's still at large, but now us as the player character in FNAF VR as the one who was consumed there. Like, to me, as I think of Tape Girl and her narrative role, right? Her narrative role is to be controlled by Glitch Trap and create this system where he's able to pass on into an appropriate human body or into another vessel, right? And then at that point, Glitch Trap is able to go off into the world and, you know, do whatever needs to be done in order for him to get reunited into his body or go off and kill more people, what have you. And so if all of a sudden you're like, hey, Tape Girl has plot relevance beyond just FNAF VR and is still possessed and is still going out into the world and is patient 40, not only is she still out there, but she is patient 46. The thing I struggle with is like, why? Like, why one, as someone who really likes clean narratives where the pieces kind of all fit in place neatly, it feels like you're taking this girl who already didn't have an identity at all, didn't have a name, just kind of exists out there in the ether, and now we're putting a lot of importance on her and making her this like active agent in a lot of ways. But two, it also muddies the narrative because now you have Glitch Trap, like replicas of Glitch Trap, which I think in a different game and if different choices had been made would be interesting, right? And I go back to one of our early theories where we're like, oh, it's the cult of Glitch Trap. I think that's what we actually called it, because I loved this idea of either a cult of individuals looking to be serial killers inspired by what Afton did. I think that's cool. Or you almost go this prop hunt angle of Glitch Trap is in multiple people acting nefariously and doing X, Y, and Z. And now all of a sudden it becomes this game of like, who's the imposter, right? It's Among Us. It's who do you trust? Who is sussy? And it's Among Us, Gregory. Have you tried venting? And I think either of those options is really compelling for the narrative of where it goes and is exciting as a possibility for where you take the franchise. But I would argue that they went neither of those. I mean, maybe they did, but now all of a sudden you have like, here's Tape Girl kind of, and also Vanny, maybe, question mark. Like, I think that's, if that was the intent, it wasn't very well conveyed. And I guess that's the question I have to you then is like, you know, if this is Tape Girl and if Tape Girl is 46, it doesn't matter. Like, why the big mystery? Like, why should I care? You know?
I think this Tape Girl debate kind of brings me back to when Phone Guy and was in FNAF 1 and people accused Phone Guy of being Purple Guy. I think it's
you can say it was me. It was me. It was
and that's
the
valid.
general people thought it was definitely me.
That's valid. When I was 15, I thought Purple Guy was Phone Guy.
I wish he was.
But I think it's just this need to have all the questions answered.
Sure.
And I think it's just the need for me to know like what happened to Tape Girl, especially since we know what happens when people get infected with Glitch Trap. They become under his control. They do his bidding. So it was always interesting to me to figure out what actually happened to Tape Girl. I think Phone Guy was kind of different because he died in FNAF 1. So it's kind of like, well, that's it. You know, we don't really get any indication that she died. Tape Girl died. So that was kind of the most intriguing thing for me. But this definitely does remind me of like Purple Guy is Phone Guy. We need to have all the questions answered. Nothing can be left, you know. So that's kind of what I've related it to.
That's fair. Did you look into voice actors at all? Because every once in a while I'll refresh myself on voice actors. Did you look into voice actors and who Tape Girl's voice actress is versus who some of the other characters are?
It's funny because I think the voice actress for Tape Girl, the voice actress for Vanessa in FNAF VR Curse of Dreadbearer, and the voice actor for Vanessa in Security Breach are all different people.
And the voice of Vanny is different.
And the voice of Vanny is also the voice of Gregory, which is Marta. So
she voices both characters.
I think they definitely did change voice actors. So
Okay.
Maybe they didn't want to make it too obvious.
Yeah, it's a strange choice because Vanessa's voice actor is Heather Matthews. Is that right?
Heather Masters.
Masters, sorry, Heather.
Which
Masters.
is Baby's, right?
Which is Baby's.
Which is also Baby's. Which is also Vanessa's.
Yeah, so that's the thing. These two characters share a voice, but the reluctant follower doesn't. Tape Girl doesn't. Vanny doesn't.
Yeah.
Some really odd choices going on.
Wait, hold on. Okay, here, go. Let me break out the white. I gotta bring out a whiteboard for these things moving forward.
Yeah, we do.
So wait, break out the whiteboard. Ash has
actually got a whiteboard.
Ash has got a whiteboard.
Oh my gosh.
Ash, toss it. Oh, it's stuck in there. It's the list of things that I have strong opinions about. It's
because you don't have any strong opinions.
I don't, except for Grandpa Joe and Sundays. Apparently,
Oh my gosh.
I have strong opinions about Grandpa Joe and Sundays and McDonald's pancakes. So there we go.
The important stuff.
Great. Who's voice actress now? I'm just
okay. So Vanessa, Roxy.
Hold up, Vanessa.
Oh wait. Sorry. Vanessa and Baby, their voice actress is Heather Masters.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Heather Masters also voices Vanessa.
Master. Okay.
And I think that's it for Heather Masters. And also
wait, Vanessa, Baby, and who?
Vanessa.
It's just those two, Vanessa and Baby. I think she might voice some other stray characters as well,
but none of them matter. No one cares about them. Okay. Yeah.
Vanessa, Baby, and Vanny's voice actor.
Okay.
Gregory and Roxy, they're all the same. And her name is Marta. Marta.
That's Marta. Okay.
Because of that Roxy in there.
Where's Reluctant Follower fit in? Reluctant Follower is another one.
That's another
Reluctant. One. So the Tape Girl and the voice we hear when we put on the mask in Curse of Dreadbear are two different voice actors.
And Reluctant Follower. So those are just others.
Yes.
Yeah. I think they've only ever voiced those characters. I think.
Yes.
I don't believe they voiced anyone else.
Okay. Poop. I was hoping there would be more like connections there. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think they changed the voice for Vanessa for Security Breach.
Sure.
Which is a weird call because it's that thing of like, VR and AR were all pointing to Vanessa being affected by Glitch Trap and being Vanny, and so it's a weird choice. They didn't just go, well, let's make it Baby's voice then, right from the off. Unless, like John said, it's purely to throw us off the trail, or we didn't think that far ahead.
Well, and that actually goes, I mean, the voice actor and casting decisions and things like that, that's always one of those things that, as I'm working on the theories, it's a nice light piece of evidence, it's a nice additional piece of evidence, but it's not like a hardcore, like this is a lore connection, this is a thumb screw or whatever,
I think it's as valid as probably the deleted voice lines and deleted stuff like that.
Yeah, it kind of falls
in my
into
opinion.
Yeah, it kind of falls
like
into that middle territory. Yeah,
gray territory. It's like, did they mean that? Did they not mean it?
Well, like you say, the voice of Vanny is also the voice of Gregory. You go like, okay, and Roxy, and so you start getting to that point of going, okay, they just got someone to do three voices.
Right? They're like, what else can you do in the room? Oh, that's great.
Just while we've got you, while we paid for the hour,
just like Kellen Goff is Sun and Moon and Freddy in the game. It's like, does that matter? Probably not.
What? Here we've got 5 minutes of your video left, but
oh gosh,
we could just finish it and talk about it after.
No, I Sun and Moon, John. Why? What? Do we know anything? Does anyone have any thoughts or feelings about Sun and Moon? Anyone?
Yeah, I think the 5th and 6th book are meant to explain them. I think that of the Tales of the Pizzaplex, that's what I've heard from the leaks.
Really?
Yes. I tell you, Somnophobia has nothing.
Really? Even though he's on the cover? Because Somnophobia is on the cover.
It's like a toy based on him, and it has nothing to do with the one we have in the game.
Great.
Like, really. Other than it has to do with, like, sleep in a weird way.
Sleep. Excellent.
I've always attributed Sun/Moon as the game stand-in for the puppet, kind of. It's kind of like the puppet-like figure.
It is.
And the fact that it has a good side and a bad side, I cut this out of my videos, but I was like, oh, maybe that's like evil Charlie, good Charlie. I don't know. And
Charlie
And also the fact that in Charlie's bedroom, when earlier in this video I talked about how Chica's magic rainbow is in Charlie's bedroom, we also see the moon and the stars above her, above her bed. So I'm like, oh, maybe that has some sort of connection. Maybe it doesn't. I didn't think it was clean enough to put in a video. But also, I always thought it was interesting that they make this. There's this constant thing of like drinking fizzy faz, and let's drink as much fizzy faz as we can. There's a message about it in Security Breach. I brought this up to Tom. And then you hear Sun and Moon say, let's drink so much fizzy faz till our head explodes. And I'm like, ooh, is that a crying child reference? I don't know. but
head gets bitten off, head explodes.
In both cases, you're missing a head.
Exactly.
Golden Freddy is fizzy fast.
Exactly.
But hey.
But yeah, that's as far as I got with them.
Fair enough. Okay, here let's continue on with the evolution of Tape Girl here.
This then leads into what I explained in my last video. Vanessa then uses Freddy to clear the path down to the blob and traps Charlie's soul in the evil Charlie bot. Elizabeth's soul merges with Vanessa, and Michael's soul merges with Glamrock Freddy. The Charlie bot is then thrown into the sticky note room where Charlie's soul starts to gain consciousness. This is my rough timeline of events as far as the retro CDs go. Like I said in my last video, it's borderline impossible to figure out how and when some of these things happened. The biggest mystery for me right now is how Vanessa in the CDs has the trauma and memories of Elizabeth before she even gets transferred to the mall where Elizabeth's soul resides. In the books, the rebuilt versions of Charlie still retain her memories. So is Vanessa a rebuilt version of Elizabeth?
So is Vanessa a rebuilt version of... Okay.
Maybe that's why she still has the memories of Elizabeth before she even gets to the Pizzaplex. We also see in the background of Vanny's boss battle in Fury's Rage, Eleanor, the variation of the rebuilt version of Elizabeth.
Yes!
I did it first.
Wow!
Yeah.
FNAF did it. FNAF did it.
I'll have you know... I mean...
I'm kidding.
No. Ours was in production probably simultaneously to this video's release.
Exactly.
I mean, he called it Eleanor, we called it Novel Baby. So
yeah.
It's different.
They're basically the same thing.
You know, and it's again like Fury's Rage again, the FNAF Streets of Fury, Fury's Rage or whatever. Like it's definitely has a lot more like seeing that plus the VR like if it had just been VR sisters, it would have been like, okay, that's kind of like silly or weird. But having this like weird humanoid pod thing, and the VR now all of a sudden you're like, there's more here than Scott was leading us to. But like, this is more than just a meme game.
Yes, and this is what I attributed in the scrapped video that I had, where the pod shows up in Vanny's boss battle.
Yes.
And I attributed that to Eleanor, who is known for stealing people's identities. So that's something that I didn't know if it was strong enough to make a video about, but I'm curious what you think about that.
Well, I think, you know, this idea of, so here, let me rewind, because I know this is another hot take. Is Eleanor the book's version of Baby?
Ooh. Yeah, people like to debate this one.
Or is it Charlie?
Charlie, I don't know.
Well, exactly. Charlie and Baby are one and the same, right? Exactly. I mean, like that's the whole thing. In the novels, Charlie equals Baby equals.
So is Charlie
Eleanor?
Elizabeth?
Yes.
And also, it depends on what novel. What novels are we talking about? We're talking about the novels. Or we're talking about Fazbear Frights.
Yes, I think I connect the main trilogy of Silver Eyes, and I take that stuff way more literally than Fazbear Frights.
Yeah.
So I think Fazbear Frights is just the stand-in for Baby or Elizabeth.
So you think what, Eleanor is the stand-in?
Yeah, I think Eleanor's the stand-in for Baby or Elizabeth.
Yeah, for those of you who are like, it's so lost in this conversation, which I don't blame you. Honestly, I don't blame you. Because there's Elizabeth, which is in the games, that's Afton's daughter, right? And there's Charlie, which is Henry's daughter. We know those. Those are like, okay, we understand that. But then there's Baby, right? Which has Elizabeth's soul put into it. Fine, we know that. But then in the books, specifically the Fazbear Frights books, there's Eleanor, which is this like tall, lanky, Baby-esque character. It looks a lot like Baby. In her illustrations, she kind of has like a long giraffe neck, but she's lankier. She doesn't exactly look immediately like Baby. But in the FNAF community, there's a lot of debate and frustration when people say like, oh, well, that's the book stand-in for Baby because she looks different, she behaves slightly differently, but like she is a female clown animatronic that's going around creating chaos. To me, that feels pretty and she, she supports William Afton and defends him and all that, like all the things that you would expect out of Baby in either the books or the games, Eleanor does too. And so the reason I wanted to clarify it with you is because it's almost like this is like the transitive property of equality that you learn in like elementary school math on steroids, right? Where it's like A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. But no, it's A equals B and B equals C and C equals D and D equals E, then A equals E, maybe, question mark, if it's only in the graphic novels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
So, and I think too, one of the fundamental questions with this whole series that you've put together, John, is this idea of, in the books, it's very well established and it's hit over the head in a lot of ways that Baby is Elizabeth is also Charlie. Right?
Yeah.
Baby equals Elizabeth. Everyone agrees with that. Baby equals Charlie is a bit more of a stretch, but the books actually call that out. Like they say that. Like you're flashing up these graphic novel panels that explicitly say, I am her. And so you have two dead girls inside the same one transforming clown animatronic.
Yes, I mean the body is Charlie's body. Like I don't think it's Charlie's soul in it. It's just the body remembers Charlie's past. Yes, because has her memories. They just don't feel like Elizabeth's own when Elizabeth possesses.
It's the difference between possession and like a robot kid being built with the memories or personality of the person, the person they're built from. There is two separate things, and so it's that constant, like, because that's what she's doing. She's fighting against the programming versus the spirit that possesses her.
Yeah.
Right.
In the novels.
So and in the books, right? The books and the graphic novels tell that story, and you can't really deny that is a thing that exists canonically in the series. I think the big question here is we've yet to see that last link in the chain happen in the games. Right? Because in the games, we know Elizabeth and Baby are one and the same. We know that chain exists. The question is Charlie at all involved with the Baby animatronic? So how do we prove that? And is this proving that then? Is that what we're? I don't know. Because I see a lot of the connections that you're making here with Nightmare I see those connections. Yeah. I still struggle to make that connection of Charlie is involved with this in some way. Like it gets messy in such a hurry.
It does get so messy, and it's so, even when I rewatch my old videos, I'm like, it's so hard to believe. But because the only thing that really stuck out to me was the trauma and past of Patient 46 aligns exactly with Charlie's trauma and past. So I'm like, that is like the most solid connection I made. But other than that, it's so hard to believe it because that's even like Robot Kids is not even something in the games. Like you'd have to be reading the books to understand that. So it's like, I totally get it because I feel the exact same way.
Does Charlie's trauma match up though with 46?
Yeah, just
you're talking about you're talking about the window and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Because also 46 had the good childhood, right?
Yes. The therapist at the end goes, "You had a great childhood. Why did you lie?"
Yes.
Did
but I was attributing that to 46. 46 is using an illusion disc to make herself look like someone else.
But that's the thing. But Charlie would have had a good childhood. That's the thing.
I guess Charlie would have had a good childhood.
I guess, yeah.
The only bad thing that happened was she got killed in an alley.
That's pretty bad.
Oh my God.
Which is pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
But before that, again, like the books show, she had a pretty decent childhood. Again, like
for the 2 years that she was alive, for the 3 years that she was alive.
Yeah, it's a childhood.
That's a life.
Childhood.
Wow. I don't think we want to touch into like what defines life, right? Okay. Like we're getting into questionable territory now.
Yeah.
This is where I segue back to John's video here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
But I don't know. I think for this chunk of the story, that's as far as I can go until we get more information. And in Update 2, I think the big twist in the DLC is that the Charlie bot is going to be back. But there's one question. Why would the Charlie bot be in therapy? Well, the only connection I could find as far as animatronics going to therapy was this part of the books where Charlie and her friends admit that they used to talk to the animatronics at the pizzeria as a form of animatronic therapy.
I do remember that, actually. I remember that when I was reading the books that, like, they say...
I was just trying to make a connection.
No, I think that's really funny. I think you're just, you know, picking at word. Like, this is one of those. I think this is a weaker version of when you called out the connection to schematics.
I agree.
I think schematics is a much stronger connection. I think that's just funny though. But I do remember that part in the books where it's like, oh yeah, we talked to the animatronics and it was like therapy for us.
I agree.
There's all sorts of man. Dear
weird choices.
Dear casual fan of FNAF watching this, there is so much weird stuff if you actually bother to read the book. There is so much weird stuff.
Yep.
I think now you're starting to get a glimpse of why this series has been driving all of us crazy for as long as it has, because there's so much weird. Like, we filter out so much chaos for you. And yeah, I make fun of Fazgoo all the time, but that's because, I mean, that is the most like publicly facing ridiculousness that you can handle.
Yep.
It's wild. Anyway, here we go.
Now in the games, the roles are reversed. Charlie is now the robot talking to a human therapist. Next, let's talk about why I think Gregory is not a robot.
No! Don't turn on me!
I'm open to changing my mind. Don't stay with me. I'm open. I'm open to changing my mind.
Killing me.
But
you're killing me.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. I don't even need to see, like, I want to see this, but I will say, like, at this point, having looked at the series now and done more theories about it, I'm convinced that one, if not a handful of people in this game are robots. I still think that the robot that comes out of Post-it Room, I still feel like it is a strong case to be made for that to be Crying Child in some reborn capacity. We have male masks. We have a lot of Post-it imagery that alludes to it being Crying Child. I was bit. I recreated the Afton family, all this stuff. That being said, though, am I 100% sure or convinced or like determined that Gregory is that robot? It doesn't need to be. I think I personally, again, as someone who's looking at this franchise and trying to create a not just an evidence supported narrative for it, but also one that's satisfying for the audience, because that's the other half of the theories, right? It's not just like what is evidentiary, but also what is satisfying narratively. And to say all of a sudden, if I'm like, and she's a robot, and she's a robot, and he's a robot, and that's a robot, and also Mike is Afton, you know, Freddy's Afton, it's a lot, right? And even I recognize that that's very unsatisfying from a narrative storytelling standpoint. But okay, here we go.
In my last video, I brought up the idea of Gregory not being a robot or the Crying Child yet, and that he was actually chosen by Vanessa to be the Crying Child rebuilt. But I didn't bring up any evidence for specifically why I think he's not a robot. One of the biggest pieces of evidence for why Gregory is a robot is the fact that whenever Vanny gets near Gregory, his vision starts to glitch out. This has been used to try to prove that Vanny is using an illusion disc. The first time we see this happen is when Freddy is in the charging station after the daycare segment. But there's one important thing to point out. Freddy can't see Vanny, but Gregory can.
He didn't see the dancing rabbit lady right in front of us?
If Vanny was using an illusion disc, there would be an illusion. She would look different. But instead, she looks exactly how she would look if she didn't have an illusion disc. My theory is that...
That's fair. But that also that's 100% true, and I see that. I would also counter with Freddy himself sees differently when he gets Roxy's eyes.
So different animatronics built differently.
Yeah, so different animatronics see things differently in different ways. And so, like, I totally see your point, and I think that's a great counterpoint to raise in this. And I do admit that, like, we had a lot of evidence for Gregory being a robot. I think that was one. To me, that was one that I'm like, ooh, that feels really good, because you're getting these weird CRT lines. But I would point out the counterpoint detail that, Freddy makes it a very clear point that Gregory looks differently once he has Roxy's eyes. So different animatronics.
And he can see Vanny when he's on the roof. He goes, I can see you now, I have new eyes.
That's true as well.
Yes.
He specifically calls Vanny out as I can now see you.
Yeah.
So it's which again, if the illusion discs are trying to make her invisible in some way or change her appearance.
I think you should keep playing the video.
Okay.
All right,
Vanny
then.
isn't using an illusion disc. In the Silver Eyes trilogy, Charlie invents an earpiece so that the animatronics she creates are able to see her and talk to her. She makes it clear that these earpieces emit a frequency that makes it so the animatronics can see you. But later on in the story, she's able to reverse engineer them so that if you wear the earpiece, you're invisible to the animatronics.
I do remember that. Yeah, it's this like weird tuning thing that kind of counteracts the whole thing. Yeah.
This is what I believe Vanny is using. This is why the animatronics can't see her, but Gregory can. And the noise and effects that happens when Vanny gets near you is because of the frequency coming from the earpiece.
So this is where I know the counterpoint will be, well, it's CRT lines, and that's where I kind of bring up, I maybe that's just a motif. Vanny is coming. Maybe it's a stylistic decision. I feel
100%.
like that CRT line is the last thing, because I also talk about all the other things you mentioned, but I feel like that's the real last thing that is definitive proof that he might be a robot.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell because also if she's using an illusion disc, Vanny doesn't show up blurry on camera in Security Breach. There's just so many things that don't line up, but this earpiece thing lined up for me really well.
Yeah, and you're totally fair, and I see that, and also that's always been one of my concerns about the Vanny using an illusion disc is the fact that why would she need to use an illusion disc? Because we know that she physically made this we know whatever she is, robot, kid, Vanessa, whatever she is, we know that a physical costume was made that she is wearing. So why would she need an illusion disc? I think that you raise a really good point. I forgot that those sound illusion earpieces different, crucially different. That the sound illusion earpieces can make things invisible. I forgot about that, and that's in Twisted Ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, it's in one of them again. But again, there's so many little weird details again in the books that like sound illusion discs, sound illusion earpieces that counteract those things and that let you talk to animals. But I think that's a really good point to raise, and I think that actually does a better job of explaining both the sound that you're hearing, because you do hear a sound, and I think that's important, but also explains away the costume element, because the costume element, on one hand, and
also she's not afraid of running around in her Vanny costume on camera or anything, and and I kind of just said, like, if we can use illusion discs from the books, why can't we use the earpieces too?
100%.
I don't know.
No, you're totally right to call that out, and I think you're absolutely, because if sound illusion discs exist in this universe, then then those kind of, I am able to make myself invisible to animatronic earpieces exist. I'm convinced. You won me over on that one. I like that one a lot. I think it explains, because I recognize that there were problems with me saying sound illusion discs, but in my knowledge, memory, research for those theories, I couldn't think of what else it could be. And you heard the sound, and you heard the line, and you saw the lines. I still don't necessarily think it negates Gregory being a robot or everyone being a robot, but I do think it does help explain away why Freddy doesn't see her at certain points, then does see her after he gets new eyes. I think that there's other elements here.
And I also attributed that to the earpieces as Charlie's invention. So why would Vanny have Charlie's tech? But that's also, if you take the books literally, that Charlie, it's confusing. But I'm thank you. I appreciate that.
No, 100%. Okay, so in conclusion, have we solved Security Breach? John?
Maybe. Kind of.
Tom?
Strong yes and no.
Yes.
Have we solved Security Breach? You know what? Yeah, and I think the collective of us have at least started to think more in the right direction. And I hope that it's starting to reveal a little bit more about, to the audience too, a little bit more that, unfortunately, there's more that we have to just draw in from the books. And I know so many people watching hate that, but like, you are seeing a lot of those elements show up here. It just is a thing. I think it's starting to... Security Breach is still a messy game. I think it's so messy. I think it doesn't do a great job of communicating not only its gameplay ideas, but a lot of its story beats into here. And even when it does have clear story beats that's trying to communicate, it's mixed in with like 5 or 6 other story beats all playing against each other at the same time. So I think that's complicated. I think that's confusing. But I think what your videos have done successfully is show maybe not that 46 is Tape Girl, although I think that remains to be seen. Maybe not that this is all evil Charlie bot reborn as XYZ, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that there is merit into picking apart a lot of the stuff that we initially wrote off or glossed over because it was such a messy, confusing, let's throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks style game.
Yes.
You know, do I think that Nightmare Charlie is in here somewhere? Yeah, I do, actually. I think you've won me over. Do I think that it's necessarily, you know, evil Charlie bot is on the run and on the loose? I'm still not sure, but I think she's in here. And I think you've convinced me that Charlie's in here. You've convinced me that Vanny is using these sound illusion earpieces, or we got to come up with a good name for those because the internet's going to eat us alive if we ever mention those. You've convinced me, and I think you've also successfully convinced me, as we've done in the theory, that Vanny and Vanessa are 2 separate entities, and now we just got to figure out the ramifications of that. You know, do I want Tape Girl to not exist in this universe? I don't, because I just want her, similar to Phone Guy, to just be done with it at this point. But I also see your point that, like, hey, she never got conclusion. So have you convinced me that maybe she's still out there and at large? 100%. So across the board, John, I think you've done an amazing job, and I think you've done an amazing job defending your theory in light of some very strict cross-examination. And at minimum, I think what you've accomplished, what we hope to accomplish when we do theories, and I think what's most important with all of our videos, both yours and mine and every other theorist out there, which is just getting you to question and think critically about the stuff that you're consuming. Because at the end of the day, I don't care if you believe my theory or not. I don't care if I'm right or not in a lot. Is it nice to be right? Absolutely. Is it nice to have answers to a lot of this stuff? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, my ultimate goal is to get you at home watching, questioning, and replaying and rethinking the things and thinking critically about the things that you're watching, because that's important when you're playing a silly game about animatronic murder bunnies. But it's even more important when you exist in 2022 and you're being inundated with Twitter bot accounts telling you news and people coming at you from all different sides with their own different messages and agendas and things like hey, like, if you can just be a smarter consumer over the stuff that you watch and the stuff that you consume, great. Then my job is done, right? And you start by questioning silly stuff and you graduate to healthy skepticism of the world around you.
I really, really appreciate that. That means the world to me. I grew up watching game theory, so I don't think I'd be where I am right now without you guys. So I really, really appreciate all the support you've given me and all of your nice words. It means the world.
You did awesome. Congratulations. I cannot wait to see your next video or series of videos, and I can't wait to have you on here again, where we can, like, I'll actually break out the large scale whiteboard and we can all piece this together, and this will be fun. Or maybe we could talk about something that isn't FNAF. And
true. Or maybe I could be there on the couch.
Shoot. Oh yeah, no, anytime. Seriously, let me know when you want to come down. I would love to have you in town.
Oh,
absolutely. We could talk about Choo Choo Charlie or something.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, anyway, thank you, John, for putting up with so much of this. And Tom, thank you for joining well into your evening when you should be taking a break for the weekend. And thank you most of all for continuing to watch us ramble incessantly about the silly bunny game. So thank you all so much for watching. And as always, my friends, remember, it wasn't a live stream, but it was a video for you. See ya!